Sawadee krap. Good morning, everyone. How are you today? It's me again, Ajarn Melvin. Welcome to the program, all of you listeners, wherever you are right now. Whether you are at home, relaxing, at work, or some of you are maybe driving, along with drive on the way, and tuning in into our radio program. Friends, have a safe driving and thank you for joining us and for tuning us this morning. I'm so excited to be your host once again for today's English learning adventure. Today, we are going to explore once again the amazing world of English language because English language brings us together no matter where we are from, and it opens doors to new opportunities and enrich our lives with informations and wonderful stories around the world. Once again, welcome to the program. Today, we are going to learn about the exciting history behind the story of a very famous sports that millions of people all around the world love to watch and play. Friends, this sports is very famous and interesting. It is exciting. It uses net and rackets to play, and it uses a bright yellow ball. Do you know what is it? Can you guess what sports am I talking?
59.
Yes, you're right. It's tennis. Particularly, I'm talking about the sports called lawn tennis. Today, we are going to talk many things all about lawn tennis, which is a game that people play and watch in every country around the world. But wait, have you ever wondered about how this fast-moving game actually started in the first place? Why do we use bright yellow ball instead of different color? And why do we hit it with a racket? Friends, stay with us for our English adventure story as we explore the amazing history of the famous tennis sports. To start our story, we must travel back in time to a very, very long time ago in Europe. About 800 years ago, people in Europe began playing this new kind discovered game that we now call lawn tennis. But did they not have the equipment we use? The same equipment that we use today, that we use rackets and in modern courts. In those days, it was not called tennis. They just play it. Players didn't have even rackets, so they used their palms of their hands to hit the ball back and forth. The ball they used were not soft or bouncy like the ones we see it in the shop now. These old balls were made of hard leather and filled inside with animal hairs, which made them very heavy and solid. Can you imagine the pain of hitting a hard and heavy ball with your open hand for many hours every day? Because it hurt so much, players started to wear thick gloves in their hands to protect their hands from the impact and from their skin for the impact. After that, they began using a flat piece of wood to hit the ball. So it eventually, gradually evolved into what we have now. And finally, they invented the first rackets with strings. In those ancient times, tennis was just a game only for kings, queens, and very rich people. They usually played in solid ground made of stone inside big buildings, which made the game very different from the modern version. Before or back then, it was very slow and a difficult game to learn, and not many people had the chance to try or to play with it. Now, let's move forward in history to the year 1870, because this is the time when the tennis changed forever. A man from England named Walter Wingfield wanted to create a game that people could play outside on the green grass. He created a new set of rules and began selling a special box that include a net, 4 rackets, and several balls in it. And he called this new sport as what we call today lawn tennis. He called it lawn tennis because it was designed to be played on the grass, in the garden, or in the lawn, maybe just in front of your house or backyard or any place that there is a lawn. That's why they call it, remember, lawn tennis. Since people could now play the game at home during garden parties, lawn tennis became so popular very quickly. And in the year 1877, remember? The year is 1877. The first major tennis competition in the world took place. This is the first competition. Took place in London. They call it the Wimbledon competition. The Wimbledon is the most prestigious and the oldest tennis tournament in the world. Until now, it has the prestigious name that it carries a long time ago, since 1877. Friends, at first, Wimbledon tournament is only for men. These men had to wear a long white pants, a heavy shirt with long sleeves, even when the weather was hot. It was very difficult to run and move quickly in those heavy clothes, but they played anyway. This part of the game. A few years later, the roles changed, and the women started to play in the tournaments too. They can join, they participate. However, my friends, listen to this. The fashion for women was very strict. So they had to wear very long dress and a large hats while they played, even though it was not easy to run or jump in a long dress. These women loved the game and played with a lot of energy with their outfit. Now, let us talk about the tennis court itself and the different places where you can play. Friends and listeners, you know, there are 3 main types of grounds or surfaces that players used in professional tennis today, although most of us played in a hard court. The first surface famous around the world is called the grass court. Okay. The grass court is the oldest style or surface of the court, as we have just learned like Wimbledon, which is the famous. Grass court is very famous because of the Wimbledon tournament. And in grass courts, the grass is very slippery. So the ball moves very fast and stay low to the ground. Players with powerful serves and quick reflexes, often called serve and volley. If you are playing tennis or if you're going to tennis, you can hear some of this word. Sometimes this word serve and volley players. These serve and volley players tend to excel here in a grass court. However, grass courts require constant maintenance. They must be mown daily. They have to exactly grown the grass into 8 millimeters and kept perfectly dry. Rain can easily delay matches in grass courts. But you know what? Grass courts is only played for highly professionals and expensive matches. The famous of this court, for example, the main example is that the founder of tournament, the Wimbledon court, Centre Court in UK, in London, which is the most legendary court, tennis court arena, in the world. And some of the legendary players on the grass courts are, I think you hear these names. We have Roger Federer from Switzerland, who won 8 Wimbledon titles, which is the most in history of tennis. And we have also Pete Sampras from US, who won 7 Wimbledon titles. They were famous and rich in these sports. And also you can hear this a women famous player from the USA. We have Serena Williams, who won 7 Wimbledon single titles. The next we have is a surface, another court. They call it the clay courts. This surface, a clay court, is made of a crushed red stones, bricks or shells. They crushed and pound it together, but it is popular in Europe and in South America. But here the ball moves much slower on clay because the surface of the clay absorbs of the energy. When the ball hit the ground, it absorbs energy. So it bounces very high also into the air after it hits the ground, giving player more time to react. So clay courts reward or needs athleticism. It needs patience and powerful tap spin shots. A unique features of clay is that the ball leaves a visible mark. This is a unique thing when you are playing in the clay court because when the ball touches the ground, when it lands, it leaves a visible clear mark where it landed, which helps umpires make line calls if it is out or in. Out. The famous court in the world for the clay courts are example of this are the Roland Garros in Paris, France. This is the most famous clay courts around the world, which is the home for the French Open. Okay, some of the legendary players on clay courts are, we knew this one, or you hear this one. His name is Rafael Nadal from Spain. Rafael Nadal is called the king of clay. You know what? Interestingly, he won 14 French Open titles. This is unmatched. Nobody has beaten his record in the clay court. That's why he was called, Rafael Nadal is called the king of clay. Well, this is tennis. And now let's talk about the last surface that tennis is played in courts. This is called the hard courts. These courts are usually made of cement and asphalt base. They are the most common type of courts in the world because they are very durable and stay the same in different weather conditions. Most public courts, school courts, and practice facilities use hard courts. In these courts, the ball bounces consistently and at a medium speed, faster than clay but slower than the grass. Hard courts are considered the most balanced surface, favoring all around players. All players, most of the players love this kind or this type of surface or these courts. However, the downside is that they are very tough on players' knees, ankles, and backs due to the hard impact on the ground. So that's the disadvantage. It's not good for players' knees. They easily get injured. Okay. The famous hard courts in the world are the courts that's home to the US Open in New York. It's called Arthur Ashe Stadium. This is the largest tennis stadium in the world, seating 23,000. The next, we also have the famous hard court in the world is the Rod Laver Arena in Australian Open. This is the home for Australian Open. It's very famous in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia. Other notable courts is called Indian Wells. It's also in the US, in California. Indian Wells Tennis Garden is very popular around the world. These are the three famous hard courts. We have the US Open, which is the Arthur Ashe Stadium, the Rod Laver Arena, Australian Open, and the Indian Wells Tennis Garden. Friends, there were legendary players on the hard courts. I just want to tell you some of these famous players so that you may know or probably you have heard this before. In the hard courts, we have the famous, even until today, is Novak Djokovic. He is from Serbia. Novak Djokovic has won 14 hard courts Grand Slam title. We also have Andre Agassi from the US. He has 6 Australian Open titles plus a US Open title. For women, famous for this one is Serena Williams from the USA with 7 Australian Open and US Open titles. Friends, let's talk about the ball that they use in tennis. Have you ever wondered why the ball is always a bright yellow color? Well, it wasn't always that way. Before 1972, tennis balls were typically white or even black. But as television broadcaster or matches became more popular, viewers had trouble seeing the ball, especially when it crossed the white lines of the courts or when matches were played on gray, rainy days. Remember, during this time, television are mostly black and white. And maybe there were colored television, but it's not as fine as we have television and clear we have today. After research by the BBC and tennis governing bodies, they found that a fluorescent shade of yellow, or they call it neon yellow, officially used it. They called that time optic yellow. This was the most visible color on camera, even in fast motion. It also stands out against green, blue, or red court. In any surfaces with this color, it stands out that they can see it in contrast. Since 1986, the International Tennis Federation, or we call it ITF, stands for International Tennis Federations, has required all official tennis balls to be a neon yellow. Interesting, right? Though, recreational balls can still be found in other colors, like white or orange for training. Now let's talk about the points or scoring system in tennis. Have you ever wondered why tennis scoring system has such strange numbers? If you can hear them while playing or the umpire is shouting, you can hear 15, 30, 40 instead of 1, 2, or 3. Here is the short history about the scoring system. Friends, a long time ago in France, when tennis was first used, the monks played tennis as a handball game, as what it started or as what used to be. This was the first tennis, when they first originated before, although they didn't call it as tennis. But the scoring they used is a clock face. It's not a moving clock, it's not a live clock, but it's a clock face. You know, a clock has a 60 minutes. So they put only a one hand. Every single point, they move the hands to 15 minutes. So the first points is 15 instead of 1 because it's 15 minutes of the clock. And then the next point, they move the hands to 30. So the next point is 30. 15 for the first point, the second one is 30. Then another point again to 45. So each point is 15 minutes. They move the hands in 4 different directions. They divide the minutes into 15. So the winning points after 45, the hands will move back to 0 and the player won the game. That was the original scoring tool they used at that time. So we have 15, 30, 40, and after that, if you still have 1 points, it's a game. And you have to get back to another server. But why do we say 40 now instead of 45? Well, simple explanation is this. The umpire shout 40 quickly, then 45. And player could hear it clearly. If they say 40, then 45. So they adapted it over time. And let's go to the score when the score is tied at all 40. In tennis, when the players is scored at a tie score of all 40 or 40 all, meaning both players has the same points, 40 and 40. Instead of saying all 40 or 40 all, instead of shouting that way, they would say deuce. What does it mean? You know, friends, this is according to the history. Deuce is a French word meaning two, meaning to say two or deuce. This is because in tennis rules, when you need to get 2 points if you are 40 all. You need 2 points in a row to win the game. So remember that at all 40, the umpire or the scorer call it deuce, meaning to say 2 points. You have to score 2 points in a row. It's quite interesting, right? Now, how about the word love? In tennis, you can hear it, the word love. The word love means 0. Instead of 0, they don't say 0, 15. They say love 15 or 0, 15. According to the story, that might come from the French word of love for egg. The French word for egg is l'œuf. L'œuf means a 0 because an egg looks like a 0. So egg look like a 0, is a symbol of 0. If you put it in the scoring system, 0 or egg, which is l'œuf, or we say love. Wasn't that very interesting, my friends? So next time you watch tennis, remember a clock, an egg, and some old French words. That is your scoring system. 40, 30, 15, deuce, something like that. Now in modern tennis world, this sport has become a very fast, powerful, and professional sports. We have many great champions who are famous in every part of the globe today. You might know famous players like, as I mentioned a while ago, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, or Serena Williams and Sharapova. These amazing athletes practice their skills for many hours every single day for a week. They train their bodies to run very fast and hit the ball with an incredible amount of power and control to become champions and great in the world of tennis. So these players became very rich and celebrities and followed by their tennis fans all around the world. Tennis fans followed the way they played, their playing styles and skills. They love watching their idol in playing tennis games. You know what, my friends and listeners, the best thing, the most interesting about tennis that I like most is you don't need to be a professional player to enjoy it. You can go to a local park and play with your friends, your parents, or even your children. It is a very healthy sport for your body because you have to run, to jump, to stretch your muscles. This is the sports that can be played by anyone as early as 6 years old or as old as 80 years old. I have seen many people while I was working in Bangkok. I have seen in Kasetsart University, all people as 80, they are just standing and hitting the ball, and they love playing tennis. Tennis is also called a great game for your mind because you have to think about where to hit the ball and where to place the ball into the other side to your opponent to win the point. So, beloved listeners, that was our story all about tennis, particularly lawn tennis. We have learned that tennis started as a simple game where people hit the balls with their bare hands, only with their hands, with their palm. We saw them, how it moved to the grass with the invention of rackets and became a favorite hobby or sports for any people. And now we see it as a global sports with a bright yellow balls and neon yellow balls. And some of the best athletes in the world we know today. So the next time you see a tennis racket or a yellow ball, remember that there's a long interesting history and a story behind them. Tennis is not just a simple game played in a tournament or played for fun. It is also a beautiful story to learn. Well, friends and beloved listeners, that was the story for our English adventure this morning, all about tennis. I hope you enjoyed the story and understand our English words and phrases. Beloved listeners and friends, we have come to an end of our program. Thank you very much for listening and for tuning in this morning. I hope you enjoyed the story and learned some new English word for today. Join us again next time for another interesting episode of English Learning Adventure. Once again, this is Arjun Melvin wishing everyone a blessed and wonderful day. Kapunakap, sawadee krap.